Only thing you need to know about today is don't push into any pinchy points. Respect the range of motion that's right for you. And we're going to get started. We're going to get started with wrist cars. So quickly, if you have a yoga block or a towel or a ball or a pillow or something, some type of object you can use that you can put between your wrists like this, that's going to help us greatly. If you don't, you can simply pretend that you do, and you're going to be here. So what we'll do is this. Your elbows will be glued to the side. You can be standing, sitting, kneeling, it doesn't matter. And then you're going to put the block about this far below your wrist. So my wrist is right here. I'm going to go a little bit below it because I want to give it space. So the block is going to be about there, and wherever my elbows are stapled on my side, they're going to stay there. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my fingers in to point towards each other. They'll have to overlap, so one will have to go a little bit faster than the other. And then from here, I'm going to start to point my fingertips towards the ceiling. As I then show you my palms, which would be wrist extension. From here, freeze. Start to point your fingertips towards the ground now as you let them overlap back into flexion. We're only going to do it a couple times like this. And I'm going to go rewind it, point it back towards the floor, back into extension, showing you my palms, pointing it towards the ceiling, and I come back to here. Good. So now we sort of have an idea of what it feels like to move our wrist without moving our forearm. So now you're going to go back in that position again. And this time, your forearms are beams of light that are shining towards each other. Don't disturb that. So I bring my fingertips in towards the midline. I sweep it towards the top, and you won't feel like you have a bunch of motion as you're sweeping through that. That's okay. And you'll be able to start to max out about here. Even then, it's not very much. From here, I go back into extension. I'm showing you my palms, pointing my fingertips towards the ground, and that when you have more range, I bring it back to here. I simply reverse. Nice and smooth. Pretend that you're drawing a nice smooth circle in the sky with your fingertips. I'm going to reverse rock it back out for one more. Elbow should be still stuck on the side. You'll notice at the point between your forearms shouldn't change in distance apart from each other. And we're ending back here. So I'm going to use one wrist as an example. First, we're going to assess our wrist quickly. So from here, this is a perpendicular line coming out from my body. I'm simply going to go like this. I'm going to take note of how much range of motion I have there. So for me, I have about that much. I want you to look at how much you have, because in this next portion, you're going to go just a little bit past that. You don't need to go much further. You're going to be able to use a variety of positions today. I'm going to ask that you use this position if it's appropriate for you. If this is not appropriate, then you can come onto one knee and do the same thing. You'll staple your chest to your thigh. If that's not appropriate, you can go both knees like this. If that's not appropriate, you can do a sort of crisscross applesauce position where your palms are on the floor here, but you have to be super mindful of keeping your arms straight. All the various positions will still use that same thought process. So what we're going to do is we're going to take note of how much range of motion we had. And then I'm going to start to lean my body forward so that my wrist will feel the stretch on this side. So everybody get to that place now where it's just a little bit past where you were. If we're being technical, I want about 15 degrees. From here, I imagine there's a broomstick on my back, and I want my back to match that broomstick. So I'm not going to round my back. I'm not going to extend my lower back. I'm going to keep a nice straight line from my butt through the top of my head as I breathe. Right now, you should feel the stretch on this part of your arm. Nobody will move for the next 90 seconds. Everybody just stay still. I'll move around a little bit because I'll have to demo. Essentially, keeping this position, what you're doing is you're getting your joint used to being here. And then when I start to think about how often will my wrists assume this position, in jiu-jitsu, I might end up here all the time. Anytime I plant my hand down. Anytime I'm doing exercise, I have to have enough wrist extension to do push-ups, mountain climbers, planks, all of those things. If I do animal flow or like floor work, just like jiu-jitsu, I'll assume this degree of wrist extension quite often. Gymnastics is also a big, there's a huge need for wrist extension. If you do other activities like climbing, which actually biases more wrist flexion, then that means that you don't use this as much. So you're probably asking yourself, well, then why do I need it? because the overall health of your wrist will depend on how much you can move in every range of motion. If you have a lot of one and don't have any of the other, then you don't have a joint. You just have a thing that looks like a joint from the outside. Specifically for this wrist, if your wrist can go this way, everybody stay still. If your wrist can go this way and you have a whole bunch of that, but you don't have any of this, you don't have a wrist. So that will cause you problems later on down the line. We're about 10 seconds out from when we're going to work, so I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm essentially, from this position, nobody's going to move, is I'm going to start to push my calluses into the ground to try to imprint them in the ground. Don't do it yet. So once I start to do that, I'm going to ramp like we normally do up to my greatest, safest effort. And at the 10-second mark, I should be at my greatest, safest effort. When I tell you to switch ranges of motion, all you're going to do is stay there and try to pull your fingertips as far off the ground as you can. If you are all in the right place, it won't move. So don't worry if it doesn't, but you should feel your stuff doing that. So as we're going to start to ramp into our first isometric, which means I'm going to start to implant my calluses or my fingertips into the ground. If you feel like you're moving, lean your weight over a little bit farther. I'm going to start to count down from 10, 9. As I'm counting down, you should be creating more force through your hand. 7, 6. You should be pushing even harder now. 5, 4. Imagine your hand imprinting into the ground. 3, even harder. 2, 1. Now try to lift your fingertips off the ground as hard as you can. Hold. 7, 6. Keep trying to pull your fingertips off the ground. 5, 4. You should feel all of this stuff working. 3, 2, 1. Freeze. Don't move. Slowly start to make that handprint into the ground again. Lean your weight forward if you need more feedback. 7. Keep going. 6, 5. Even harder. 4. Give me more. 3. Harder. 2. See your imprint on the ground. 1. Hold that greatest effort for 5. Don't move. 4. Push harder. 3, 2, 1. Take those fingertips off the ground. Lift. 7, 6, 5. Keep going. 4. Even harder. 3, 2. Stay there. Max it out even more. Go even further. Go. Go. Slowly relax, but don't move. Stay there. So what's going to happen now is you'll bring your knees a little closer to your hands. And if you were in another position, if you were in that crisscross applesauce position, you're simply going to stay where you are, but you need to think more about not bending your elbows. If you're in a half kneeling position or a collapsed kneeling position, which is this one, you don't have to move at all. Furthermore, if this position is better for you or is okay for you, this is going to be better for what we're going to do next. So if you can get here, get here. So from here, you'll notice that I'm moving my knees closer and my shoulders are farther forward past my hands, my wrists, because I've earned a little bit of range temporarily. From here, you're going to try to pull the fingertips off the ground again as hard as you can as you move your body back. So your body will move, but you want to keep the same wrist position. Essentially, what we're going to see is how much of this wrist position are you really controlling as we lift the fingertips off the ground. So be mindful of your arms. Keep them straight. And keep your elbows straight. As you start to shift your body back, keep that same degree of wrist extension. That means nothing moves. Hold for 5, 4. You should be shaking. 3, 2. Don't let it go anywhere. Bring your body back forward. Relax for a second. Maybe sink a centimeter deeper if that felt good. If it didn't, lean back a tiny bit. Hold. So you're lighting up this side of your arm now. Slowly bring your body backwards. Don't bend the elbows when the fingertips come off the ground. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep that position. Bring your body forward till your hand touches the ground. Take a breath. Do it again. Sniff some air into your stomach. Try to pull your fingertips off the ground as hard as you can. Keep your elbows straight. Bring your body back. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Everybody hold position, and I'm going to show you. So if you're having a lot of trouble with that, all you need to do if you're in this position is lean back a little bit and take your hands a little farther forward. Notice the degree of wrist extension I'm in here and how that changes as I bring my shoulder into flexion or bring my hand farther away from me. That changes how much I have. So if you need to adjust, by all means adjust. because we want you working from the appropriate place. So all this stuff should be going crazy right now. All right, so back in position, whatever position it is that's appropriate for you. Remember, what we're doing here is we're essentially seeing how much of this motion can we control. And since we lean ourselves and our body takes us past the range of motion we were controlling before, neurologically we have to fight a lot harder. But we have an idea of what it feels like to be here and work here because we just did it. So we're going to utilize that to help us keep these gains. Hold, rock back, fingertips come off the ground. You freeze right there. Hold for 5, 4, 3, your fingertips should be shaking. 2, 1, slowly return. Take a breath. Sniff some air into your stomach. Create a little more tension in your body. Your armpits get a little bit tight. Hold that contraction of wrist extension. Start to bring your body back. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly come back down. Good. Come out, shake it out a little bit. So wrist extension is what people are usually lacking when in that range of, in the wrist joint. But it's also important to understand the other motions of the wrist joint. And most people just think about flexion and extension. So we're going to explore a little bit of radial and ulnar deviation right now. And we're going to do that like this. So if I go here, and you're going to look at your elbows and this bone on the inside of your wrist. I don't want those to move. What you're going to do is slowly start to point your fingertips out away from you, and you're going to hold. While you're doing this, I don't want the thumb side to come off the ground. Keep the thumb side on the ground as you try to point those fingertips as far away from you as you can. You should feel the stuff on your pinky side on that arm. We're doing both at the same time here. I'm just using this hand to demo. Now slowly sweep it back towards the middle. Same deal here. I don't want this to come off or this to come off. So I'm looking at this range of motion here. It's not very much. So start to eke out as much as you can from there. Your fingertips might spread a little bit. That's okay. I want you to feel this stuff on the thumb side of your hand. Now start to work it back out. Hold. Work it back in. Hold. Back out. Hold. Back in. Hold. Out. Hold. Now check. Are the wrist bones and your elbows, are they still in the same place? Keep them there. Back in. Good. And then we're just going to do a couple more wrist cars. So this time I'm going to have you make your forearms face the ceiling. It's a beam of light. We're going to do the same motion we did to start. So I show you my palms like the Buddha statue. You should feel a little more range there right now. I sweep my fingertips in towards the midline. They're pointing towards each other. I should see my I should see my palm and my forearm. I come up to here. I'm going to point my fingertips away from me. Again, we have less motion here. We just explored that. I come back to the Buddha position where I show you my palms. I sweep it back out. I come back up to show you my knuckles. I come back in to point my fingertips towards each other. Now you look at your forearm and your palm. You should see them both. I want you to make sure that you can always see your forearm as you go back to this position. Now bring it back again. Back up. Fingertips towards the ceiling. Fingertips away from me. Fingertips towards the floor. I'm simply going to return. Nice and slow and controlled. Good. So that's some wrist work. We're going to do hips next. And if you have a block, if you have a pillow, you're going to need that. Everybody's going to lay down on their side. Remembering that there's a pane of glass on the front of our torso and on the back. So we're not going to disturb that pane of glass. My hands can be here. My hands can be here. They can really be anywhere as long as you feel safe and supported. Sniff some air to your stomach. Bring your knee up towards your face. And remember that we don't want to push our belt line into the piece of glass behind us. From here, I'm going to swing my hip open so that you can see the inside of my thigh. And then from here, this is a stake in the ground as I internally rotate, which means my foot comes back towards my ear, but my knee doesn't move. And I slowly start to let my knee drop towards the ground. A little bit behind my butt. I'm going to pull it down, but I only pull it down until I feel like this is going to come off. If this starts to come off the ground, I stop where I am and I come back. So once I feel like I can't pull it towards the ground anymore, I'm going to bring it back to be in line with my hip. From here, I push my heel towards the wall behind me a little bit. I swing it open. I'm showing you the inside of my thigh again. I'm bringing it back across, bringing it to home, which is here. From here, I bring my hip back up towards my face, which would be hip flexion. Remember, I zipped up my jacket and I'm not moving, so my torso is nice and tall. I swing it open to show you the inside of my thigh again. I internally rotate, so this is a stake in the ground. Then I start to adduct by bringing my hip down, and there should be a little bit of hip extension there, which means my knee's a little bit back behind me. Then I pull it back to home. Home is this knee being directly below the line from my ear down. I reverse by going into hip extension, push the heel towards the wall behind me. I bring it back up into abduction. I show you the inside of my thigh. I sweep it back into flexion. I bring it home. We're then going to go switch to do the other side. So as we're doing this part, I want you to try to keep the same cadence I am. Okay. Same deal. So we're sweeping. Remember the 2 panes of glass? Sweep my hip up into flexion. Show you the inside of my thigh. Internally rotate. I start to sweep it back behind me, not letting my shoulders move. Slowly bring my knee down. When I feel them at the end, I let it return to home, which means it comes back forward a little bit. From here, I'm going to extend my hip, bring my whole leg towards my face. When I don't have that motion anymore, I show you the inside of my thigh, and I bring my knee up towards me again, and then I return to home. I reverse. I'm in hip flexion. I'm abducting to show you the inside of my thigh. From here, I internally rotate, bring that knee down towards the ground, back to the front, reverse. Everybody should know what's going on now. Good. And I encourage you, if this is one of your first times in class, don't worry about doing it right. Worry about feeling the stuff in your hip as you make this motion. Essentially what you're doing is you're trying to go through all the ranges of motion that the hip should have and that we can control. This is also an assessment for you because it will tell you where your hip doesn't do what it needs to do. Great. Okay. So we always talk about rotation being the fundamental motion of the joint. We're going to start to access that rotation now. So I'll take a block if I have one or whatever the object is, but if you don't have one, you don't necessarily need one. What's going to happen is my knees are bent to about 90 and the block is here. So I'm going to start to pick one foot up, take it out. Pick one foot up, take it out. Pick one foot up, take it out. And if your knee is bothered here, then you'll play with where your toes are pointing. If it's bothering you, try to point your toes in a little bit. If that doesn't relieve it, have a little less knee bend. If that still doesn't relieve it, give yourself a little bit more space with the block. If that still doesn't relieve it, take the block away. These are all different things you can try. There is no one answer because everybody has a different issue of why that is. If none of those options work for you, one of them should. If none of those options work for you, then this is a great time for you to slowly explore to see how much rotation is safe for you. And you're going to stop there and then you'll get the object and place it wherever you need to. So you don't necessarily need it right here. You might need it right here, and that's going to affect the way that this changes the rotation. Or you might hold it with the front of your knee here or have it farther out. So we're going to find the position that's appropriate for us. And I'm going to lay down on it. So part of what you do is once you're out to here or about where it feels like it's the end range of rotation for you, bring your butt a little farther forward because I want my knees to be bent to about 90. And then everybody's going to lay down. And then the first thing that we're going to do is stay here and you're going to feel what you feel. So you should feel some stuff near your pockets. You might feel a stretch sort of deep in the bottom of your butt around here. Those things are great. We're first going to try to crush the block or the object with our knees. And again, even if you don't have an object, you can still do this. And then I want you to try to lift your feet up towards the ceiling. That should really, really illustrate that, or really make you feel that stuff near your pocket working to try to make that happen. If you feel like you have no action there, bring your feet in a little bit closer and try again. I encourage you to find the position where your feet are as far apart as possible, but you still are fighting for control with that stuff near your pocket. And that stuff near your pocket, you shouldn't have great control of it. You should feel like you're fighting for control of it, but physically that sensation is enough to be uncomfortable. So now that everybody has found that position, hang out there. First thing I want you to do is tuck and untuck your hips. What does that mean? If you have a big belt buckle on, I want you to point that belt buckle towards your face. Or if you had a tail, I want you to tuck your tail between your legs. Then you're going to untuck, which means you're going to bring the tag on your shirt to the tag on the back of your pants, which might create a little bit of space under your low back. That's okay. And if I had my belt buckle on, I'm pointing my belt buckle towards you. Then I bring it back in to tuck again. Actually, let me turn to the side so you can see this. Everybody stay in position though. So I'm here. So I'm essentially tucking my hips and untucking my hips. Tucking again. Untucking. Now everybody's going to stay in this position. Take your hands, and if you need to, you can use your legs to help you, but we're essentially going to try to pull our chest closer to our knees by curling up. So if I'm a fruit roll up on the ground, I'm going to fruit roll up forward towards my knees, but I'm going to try to keep this hip position. To make it even better, what I'm going to do is I'm going to feel that area near my pocket as I'm trying to internally rotate, right? So I should feel this stuff going, and I'm going to hold that feeling as I now start to reach my fingertips over my knees. It's going to look something like this. So I curl up, I go, I should be ab heavy here, and slowly bring it back down. So you see that's not a huge amount of motion. If that's too much for you, by all means, please grab the back of your thighs and use your arms to assist you into this position. Hold, this is rep 2 we should be going right now. Slowly bring it back down. But if that feels good, then by all means, use your hands. If this is too easy, put your hands overhead like so, or like this. Hands behind the head would be the next progression. Hands like this would be the third progression. Curl it up. Segment it back down. So we're essentially keeping the hips in internal rotation while we segment into flexion from the cervical and thoracic spine. Come back up, hold, try to take your feet off the ground, feel your pockets light up, parachute it back down. We're going to do that again. You can also cross your hands over your chest. Hold, parachute back down. One more time. Parachute back down. Good. So what we're essentially doing, everybody stay there though, because I still want you in that degree of internal rotation. And we're good. So we were segmenting from the other, we were moving from the other part of the spine while keeping the hips in internal rotation there. It was easy to keep that degree of internal rotation because the circuit was closed and the ground was stopping us. We're now going to see in the same way earlier when we did the passive range holds where we came off for the wrist. We're going to do something like that here now. So I'm going to ask you to fight for that rotation as hard as you can. And then what we're going to do is we're going to try to bring our knees back towards our face. So if you should still be in position. And if you're still in position, you're going to hold here. So right now, you're going to feel that area near your pockets light up. And your hands are going to come out to the side to base here. So your hands should be pretty wide out to the sides. If you're too close to your hips, it's going to feel like your shoulders are doing some crazy stuff. So bring your hands out a little farther. Feel that area near your pocket by trying to lift your feet off the ground. Then you're going to bring your knees towards your face. Keep bringing them, and don't let the feet come back together. Bring your belt off the ground. Slowly return, keeping the feet as far apart as possible. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Land, keep it there, take a breath, relax. So now you'll know which part of that motion was hardest for you to keep the rotation of the hip. So when we get there, go a little slower there and work a little harder. Remember that technically as I come back, I'm going to be losing some space. So my goal is just to fight for as much as I have for the whole time. All right, sniff some air into your stomach. Feel that area near your pockets. Try to take your feet off the ground. Slowly bring your knees back towards your face. If you can, bring your belt off the floor too. Hold, feet apart. Slowly return. Good. That's 2. We're gonna do 3 more. Same deal, stiff cement your stomach, feet go away from each other. Bring it back. Go, 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 go. Belt comes off the ground. Slowly return. So now that we know what it feels like, if you want to, you can bring your hands in a little closer to get that last little bit of hip lifting off. But make sure that you're not sinking down through one shoulder, because if you're missing rotation on one side, a lot of times people will try to sink into the other shoulder to make it seem like that hip is moving, and we have to be careful for that. And you'll see that if your hands are closer, that last part of lifting the hip up makes it a little bit easier, but we're not necessarily looking for easier either. All I'm doing is giving you different options to try to find the appropriate one for you. And to do that, we need to know what's easiest and what's hardest so we can find yours, the right place in between there. All right, same deal. Feet go away from each other. Bring the knees back towards the face. Curl up. Go, feet apart, belt comes off the ground. Slowly return. Real slow, keep the feet apart. Feet go farther apart, farther apart, farther apart. Aim that every time you set your feet down, they're a centimeter further away from each other. Same deal, here we go. Lift off. Keep that rotation. Feel the pocket slide up. Belt comes off the ground. Slowly return. Good. So now you can come out of position. We'll talk about what we're going to do next. So that was internal rotation. Now we're going to work external rotation. And the way we're going to do that is this. So right from where you're sitting, drop one knee down, or drop one hip down. And I'm first going to see from this position, roughly, you don't have to be exact here, how much external rotation do I have? Good. Just want to make sure that we understand what motion is supposed to happen here. So what we'll do first is we'll lay down on our back. And I'm going to externally rotate my hip like so. So from here, my hand goes on my knee. And if you can't reach your foot, get a towel, get a strap, get anything. Or just pull your whole leg closer to you first. Grab your foot. So my hand is on the outside of my foot or the outside of my ankle. My other hand is going to go on the inside of my knee. I'm going to push with the hand on my knee out. I'm going to pull with the hand on my foot. And then my hip is going to resist that motion. Slowly relax. And then I'm going to go the other way. So my hand is going to try to push my foot away from me. And the other hand is going to be outside of my knee. Try to move it, resist rotation. Good. So that's the feeling you're going to be looking for. So we're going to go back in position. The first thing so one leg is going to go out in front of me, or if that's not appropriate, you'll bend it in like so. But the leg being straight is going to be easier for you. So from here, I'm going to put this foot on the outside of my other knee. So if it's too far down, it's too close to my foot. And you really can't be too far up right now, it's okay. But have it right outside your knee. So now you're already in some degree of external rotation. What's going to happen? You're going to keep that degree of external rotation, and your hands will help you as you sort of segment back down. And if you need help here, you're going to hold onto your leg or lightly on this thigh. Curl it down. Hold. Keep that external rotation. From here, try to push your foot away. The hand goes outside knee. Make sure you remember that feeling. Hold that. Now curl back up. You won't come very far. Curl back down. So that fruit roll-up we did in the beginning where the head comes off the ground and you bring your chest towards your thigh, that's what we're doing here. But we're keeping the hip in external rotation now. Hold it. Let me turn to the side so you guys can see better. So I'm holding my hip in external rotation. I'm going to curl up. Hold. Slowly parachute back down. Be careful here that you're not jutting your chin way forward. Remember the first motion here as we curl up is chin comes to chest. And I take each vertebrae off the ground slowly while I hold external rotation. Good. Again, hold that. Parachute down. Good. Switch sides. So I'm here, my legs out in front of me or my knees bent, whatever's appropriate. And I put my foot on the outside of the other knee. So I'm going to keep that degree of external rotation. I might even try to lift my foot towards the ceiling now. But when I do so, my knee shouldn't come with me. Otherwise, that becomes a deduction and not external rotation. So my knee stays here. My foot comes up. That's great. And then I'm going to slowly curl it down. So I'm here, slowly curling it down. This leg is going to come with me. But I want to keep the same degree of rotation until I get to here. And then I'm going to curl up. Curl up. Reach. 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 Parachute. I should feel real ab heavy, and I should feel all this hip stuff holding me here. Reach. Bring that foot towards your face. Bring your face towards your knee. Parachute down. Again, go. Reach, reach, reach with your fingertips. Parachute down. One more time, up, go. Return. Slowly bring your hip back to middle. Good. So now we're going to go back to working internal rotation from that position. I'll show you from this side how we're setting up for that. So we're here, remember we're just wiggling our feet out away from each other. So from here, if I need to, if my knees got too much bend, I just bring my butt forward some. I'll lay back down. So this is about where we're going to be trying to work from. We're going to try to keep as much rotation as we can as we curl up from the lower part of our spine and our hips. I'll turn to the side so you can see what that looks like. And remember, it's less about how much motion you're getting in terms of bringing it up and keeping that rotation, and more about how much can you feel that stuff working as you're doing this. It's not that the range of motion doesn't matter, but your effort is going to matter, and your metric shouldn't be, or do you have as much as what you're seeing on the screen? So start to work that now. Should be here, knees should be bent to about 90, hips are in internal rotation. You're going to crush the block first. Slowly bring your feet off the ground and start to curl up. Bring your belt off the ground. Bring the block towards your face. Hold. Slowly come back down. If you feel awkward here, like you're reaching your chin up when the knees come back closer to you, it's okay if you bring your chin towards your chest. Same deal. Bring it back towards you. Hold. Hold. Slowly, slowly bring it back down. Good. Remember, you're aiming to take your feet out a little further from each other each time they land in that position. Bring it up. Go. Bring your knees towards your chin. Hold. Parachute it down. Good. Two more. Up. Keep the feet away from each other. Bring your knees back. Belt comes off the ground. Good. Almost pretend like you're pushing all the way down to the middle of your back as those knees come back. Lift off again. Go. Fight for rotation. Hold. Parachute it back down. Good. Slowly. Great. Going back to external rotation now. So we're just going to set up, though, from the lying down position. Go ahead and lay down on your back. If this is a stake in the ground, it comes to here. Make sure the toes and the knees of the leg on the ground are also pointing up, straight up. Don't let them move. Start to fruit roll up towards that foot. And go. Foot comes to face, foot to face. Hold ab heavy here. Parachute it down. Don't let this hip lose position at all. Check it. Are you using as much of this motion as you can? External rotation. Remember, if you forget what that feels like, this hand goes on the outside of your knee, and this one tries to push your foot away from you. Resist that. Keep that feeling. Curl up. Go. Hold. Through your abs, not through your neck. Slowly come back down. One more. Go. Curl up. Hold. 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 Make fist. Parachute. Good. Switch. Let's do the other side. So externally rotate your hip. Hold that. The other knee and the other toes are pointing straight up. Start to reach. Curl up like a fruit roll up. Hold. Bring that foot closer to your face. Slowly segment back down. Up again, go. Hold. Parachute. Go. Foot to face, foot to face. Hold. Ab heavy. Parachute. One more. Go. Hold. Come back. Good. Going back to working internal rotation again. We got one more round. Let's knock it out. So remember, object goes here. Start to wiggle my feet out however I need to. If I don't have a 90-degree knee bend, I just bring my hips a little farther forward. But if that doesn't feel right, stay where you are. Okay. Here we go. So we're here. We're holding that internal rotation. And up. Belt comes off the ground. Hold. Whew. Back down. Keep the feet apart, feet apart, feet apart. Good. Light this area up. Feel it squeeze into your fingers. Now lift off. Good. Knees to face, feet apart. Parachute down. Good. If it looks a little funky, it's because there's a dip in the floor here, so. Up. Hold. Ab heavy here. These should be lit up like crazy. Parachute. Let's do 3 more. Fingers go here. Squeeze that area before we go. Up. Hold. Parachute. So you should feel a bunch of ab stuff here. You should feel a bunch of stuff in your pockets working. Again, go. Feet apart. Feet apart. Parachute. Good. So I'm going to start from this side. We're going to go back to external rotation again. So everybody knows what to do now. From here, I'm going to externally rotate. I'm going to reach, hold, foot to face, segment back down slowly. Again, make sure you have enough, as much as you can get. You should feel that stuff trying to hold you here. Curl up, hold, foot to face, back down, reassess. Am I using my max? I am. Good, go, curl up, ab heavy. Slowly come back down. One more, go. Hold, go further. Parachute. Good, let's switch sides. So I'm externally rotating my hip. Start to curl up, hold, parachute down. Again, go. Hold, push the middle of your back into the ground, bring it back. Again, this time make the point of contact that you think about most, your belt into the ground. Go. Rotate that hip, rotate that hip. More. Back down. Last one, go. And parachute. Good. So now everybody face me. Sorry, we have what we call bear sit. We're going to use something similar to that. So if my knees are bent to about 90 here, I'm going to take this hip out as far as I can. I'm going to take this hip out as far as I can. All I want to think about right now is I don't want these knees to get closer to each other. They hate each other. So this knee is going to start to drop towards the ground. When that can't go anymore, now this knee can come. But if this knee moves, this knee must move. Until I drop it into this position here. If this is not good for you, lean farther back. Now this knee comes up. When it can't go anymore, this knee can come over. Again, they don't like each other. Drop it down. Good. This knee comes up. Don't let this knee move. When that runs out of space, this one can come along for the ride. Again, if you're feeling knee discomfort, that means that we need to stop right around there, and that's where you'll stop. So if you had to stop here, that's where you'll stop. That's okay. You just hold there and squeeze the things that keep you in that position. Drop that knee down. Back over. So there should be a bunch of space between your knees. The lower part of your back should stay exactly where it is. So as I make this motion, I don't want to do this. If my lower back goes towards the wall behind me, that means I need to stick my hands back a little further and let my torso drop back. Finishing this rotation here, nice and easy. So you can see there's almost like a 90-90 hip position that we're going to. This one rocks open, this one follows it, but they still don't like each other. It drops down. Good. Hope you enjoyed class. If you have any questions about how to add this to your program or add it into your routine, please let us know. Reach out. If you have any requests for classes that you want or things you want to cover in class, please reach out as well. Any pain issues or performance issues you're dealing with, we can help cover that too. Please just reach out and let us know. Everybody take care.